Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Bruce here. Hey, been out of it for the last couple weeks. Got that bad cold that's been going around, and I'm still a little bit nasal, but I'm gonna try and give it a shot. Something light, something easy today. So we're just doing fuel lines, and I don't know if any of you have ever tried it before, but AN lines, kind of a cool way of doing things. This is a dash six AN line. And AN is, I believe, Army Navy is a standard, and the six is just the reference to the size of hose. So what we're going to do today is basically show you in a quick video how to put this end onto this hose. And what we're doing, this under being a fuel return line, but we already have this line fed up to the front of the truck. It's going to come through the frame rail, kind of do a little duck around, and it's going to hook up to the fuel cell. Um, and we'll show you how to put these on. Some people get really intimidated by it. This particular brand is by a company called Evil Energy. They're not sponsoring this video or anything, but that's who they are for this hose. And just got it off the Jungle Store. It's not expensive stuff. There's a woven nylon weave around the outside of it, and I'll get a little closer in a second. But there's also a steel jacket and a good solid rubber core to it. I believe it might be polypropylene, something to resist fuel anyway. So let's get you inside and show you how we do this. Okay, so we got a few things together here. Nothing like rocket science or anything. I've got my cutoff wheel, or like I say, some people call it death wheel. We're going to need that for cutting the hose. There's the special tool you can use, but unless you want to pay that 75 or $100, this just works fine. Our hose, these clamps, these are actually made by Earls, which is another manufacturer of braided lines and high pressure hoses. They're rather old. The magnets on the back fell out. The magnets would actually keep it in the vise, but you know, if you're a little ambidextrous, you can get it put in and not drop it too many times. So first thing we're going to do, somebody's already in this before, it's got a piece of tape on. Let's take this tape off like that. Okay. Now, this end was relatively flat, but I want to show you from start to finish how you would do it. If this end was jagged or malformed, or you just needed a good fresh end, because that's important. I'll explain that as I go. So what I use is just electrical tape. Now this is just random yellow electrical tape. And what I do is I come back from the end of the hose, we'll say an inch, roughly. Okay, and what you want to do is wrap it tight. Stretch it a little bit if you can. And what this does is it holds these nylon fibers together, because you need them to kind of stay compressed around the hose when you go to put the fitting on. I'll just snap it. It's easier than digging through my pocket trying to find my pocket knife. Okay, so you've got your tape on your hose. Now, this block has these jaws. These jaws are serving two purposes. One, you can clamp the hose in it so it doesn't slide around. Or if you had the fitting in here, you can actually use it like a plastic wrench, if you want to call it that, to hold it while you're tightening it up. So that's kind of cool. So go ahead and get your hose in, clamp, and you're going to let it hang out a little bit. The yellow part doesn't go in the clamp. That's what we're going to actually cut through. You'll see that in a second. Okay. And this doesn't have to be real tight. You just don't want it to jump around the vise. Okay, so just good and snug. All right, got my safety glasses on here. Let's go ahead and cut this through. Watch my fingers. Hopefully you can see there. Let me stand back here a little bit. All right, here we go. And it's going to smoke, but that's okay. Just give it light pressure. Let it cut the way it wants to. Because you're cutting through steel fibers. The hose is reinforced with steel. And I don't recommend you doing that at home. I just have done it a few times, so I'm just reckless. Okay, so got that on or cut. So next thing we want to do is take our fitting apart. Now, as I take this apart, this just unscrews, but what will happen, and this is made out of aluminum, inside this fitting, there's threads, okay? They're not right-hand threads, they're left-hand threads. And that can be kind of frustrating. You got to put this fitting on and you're turning it the wrong way and it won't just screw down the hose. It just wants to spin. If you start trying to force it and you malform these nylon strands or the steel strands, you might as well just cut it off, start all over fresh again, and get going. Now, I'm going to try a little trick here. Let me get my pick out of the toolbox just to show you a different way of doing things. Whoops, excuse me. Where were we at? Yeah, got it. Okay, so I kind of discovered this the other night. It seemed like it was easier. Let's see what happens here in real life. So go ahead and take our hose out. All right, and I just kind of try fit this on the hose because sometimes if you put too much electrical tape, it doesn't want to go down on the hose very far. And that's about right. I think that was about maybe 3 wraps if you were counting those as we were going. So what I do is I start this onto the hose, and you want to try and keep all these little fibers inside the fitting. Now I know this looks weird because we don't want the tape in the hose. I turn it counterclockwise a little bit and I get it started. Okay, that's all I want to do is get it started. And you just got to muscle it and push reasonably hard, but not a lot. Then if you're careful, you can take your pick and kind of tear this tape back out of the way. See if I can do this. Like I say, you don't have to use this tape method. This is just something I was messing with the other night, and it did work. Worked better when I had my glasses on. Of course, I nicked it. All right. Okay, let's just pull that off for a second. Start all over. It's not terrible. It's got a couple fibers sticking up in here, but this is more for just looks at this point. So do it again. Start it on the hose. Turn it counterclockwise. Yeah, it's working that time. Maybe I'll stop doing that thing with the tape. Forget everything I just said in the last 5 minutes. So what you're going to do is just turn the fitting counterclockwise, and it screws down onto the hose, and then you'll feel a bump. And I don't know if you can see or not, but the threaded part of the fitting goes down in there maybe 1/4 to 3/8 inch deep, and then it stops. Well, that's what you're bumping up against when you get down to a point where you just feel it bump, stop. That's where you want to be, okay? So once you've done that, since these fittings are aluminum, you don't want to screw them together aluminum on aluminum. It has a tendency to gall or tear the aluminum up. So what I do is just give a little squirt of any kind of lube. You don't necessarily have to use motor oil, but some sort of light lubricant. This is right-hand thread. So you'll start this in the hose. And you can go fairly far just by hand. Now it's getting tight. So now we'll come back to our blocks. Slide this whole mess together. And see, the blocks will actually hold that that fitting, that nut on the fitting. Give it just light pressure because you're just tightening against aluminum. You can crush it if you get a little carried away. There are proper AN wrenches that are made out of aluminum. I have them in my trailer over there, my race car trailer, but I'm just being lazy and I'm just using some cheapy adjustable wrench here. And just mild pressure, just tighten it. And what's happening is that fitting is going down inside the rubber tube, and it's pushing outwards. And when we get to the bottom here, it'll actually it's kind of like a compression fitting. It just pushes outwards. But just go nice and slow. No marathon here or anything like that. It's nice and slow. And I usually take it down to where it touches about one more going to turn, yeah, right about there. And then I'll just back it up a hair. And all I'm doing is I'm lining it up against the fitting itself so it looks square, looks decent. So we'll take it apart. And there you go. Oh, I'm off a little bit. Man, I got to wear my glasses. Anyway, if you can see that, see how the top of the nut is off. So let's put this back in here. Should have worn my glasses. That's okay. This is real life. There's nothing faked on these videos. I'm sure this happens to you guys at home too. All right, now we're square. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Okay. So that's all there is to it. I'll take this out to the truck and kind of rough measure it before we cut it. But I'll give you an idea of some of the different kind of fittings, these ANs. And once you use them a few times, they're pretty cool. Like this, this is just a connector. We're going to use one of these in a minute. Because what will happen is we're repurposing some hose. My son did all new transmission lines on his Camaro, and he gave old Pops his old hose, which there's nothing wrong with it. And so this is just a connector to connect one fitting to the next. So the other fitting on the truck now will screw into that, we'll tighten together, and we can just keep running our hose. We're just repurposing things. There's no sense throwing this stuff away. It's good stuff. So let me go out here and get a rough idea where to cut this thing, and I will be back in just a moment. Okay. You have to excuse me if my voice crackles. Still fighting this thing. Alrighty. So here's the other end of our fuel line, and it's going to duck underneath the frame rail here, cross section of the frame. And this is that connector fitting we were just talking about. So this will screw together with this. Of course, we'll come back and tighten all this. I just want to see how long a hose I need. Then this hose will end up going through the whole frame back here. That's why we boxed it in on previous videos. You might have seen that. Okay. And always leave yourself some slack. You cut it too short, then you're going to be splicing in these crazy little sections. Just make it a little long, make it easier on yourself. So that comes through the frame. That'll kind of peek through there, and then it's got to go to this fitting. So we'll just give it like a little lazy bend, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it with the tape now. And then we'll take this back inside and do it again. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, we are back. One more shorter hose. And let's go ahead and hook that up. So this works out to be 11/16 on this other end. And we just want to snug this. I really should have grabbed my AN wrenches and showed you that. You don't use them very often, but they're kind of nice, and they don't scratch up the aluminum, but we're just kind of making do. And don't dangle your hose in the dirt. Okay, good. I didn't ruin it. All right. Okay, so this screws together this way. You want to hold the one fitting and tighten the nut end. Don't turn against the whole fitting. That's a good way of breaking it or stripping it. They're pretty tough, but I wouldn't go crazy. Just good and snug. It doesn't require a lot of pressure. Excuse me, nose is starting to run again. So, recycle. Put this over the end of our hose because we don't want to get any rust or debris up in the hose. Yep, that ain't gonna work. All right, let me get something better here. Okay. You want to cover these things up. In a sense, getting more dirt in there than you're gonna. Just gonna cover it up. Like that. Okay. So slide this up inside the frame. There it goes. Perfect. Let me get you around here so you can see a little bit better. Okay, trying it again. So on this fuel cell, there's a 8AN fitting that we're going to use, and we're adapting it down to a -6 because we don't have to have that big a line for this little engine right now, and it's really going to be a return line one of these days. So anyway, let's see if we can't get this off. And this is an aluminum AN wrench, adjustable. Works pretty good. Belongs to my son. He doesn't know I'm using it, but I don't think he's going to mind. And let's go ahead and take this loose. Now this other one, remember, it had that weird hole in the tank. We had to plug it. That's just a bulkhead fitting with a cap, so we're not going to use that. This is the actual pickup. This tube here goes down into the tank. Okay, so another nifty little fitting here. This is an adapter. Adapts 8 to a 6. And what you want to do is put that piece on next. And the reason being is they won't slip. Just kind of stack them as you go. Okay. Now we'll put on our 6. We won't snug that just yet. Take our tape off. Okay. So this is going to screw onto our 90-degree elbow. Like that. Okay. So what a unclamp is. Wrench is gripping good. All right, so we get this on our fitting. Let's run it down just a little bit more, so we're not out here all night. Okay. All right. We'll take our wrench, hold the fitting, just good and snug, about like that. Okay. Now, since this is just in plastic, we don't want to go hog wild and tighten this thing up and break it out of the plastic. So we'll use another wrench to support it. Something like that. Let's take this down more. There we go. Okay. The wrench is just keeping it from bending over, breaking it. Let's get a better bite than that. Okay. And just good and snug. There you go. You can see it wanted to rotate there, but I had to hold it. Okay. Let me just verify one thing here real quick. Oh, yeah. So the fuel pickup tube is actually down in the tank. It comes off of this fitting and up. So that looks good. Okay. You guys are experts like me now. Haha. Okay, well, that was the end of today's video. Hopefully that was some help to you, how to attach fittings onto your AN hoses. It's not too difficult. If you just take your time, you can have some good success with it. And it looks cool. It looks good. It's pretty durable. It'll last for a long time. So anyway, please hit like and subscribe if this video was helpful to you or you enjoyed it, because this is what we do. Take care. See you next time.